You know, for several years now, I think I've been using a method that I learned about online to install these Trail Tech tachometers onto and close to the throttle on the throttle cable of a paramotor. And I really like it because it's easy to look at, very easy to look at a glance. And this particular installation, for this, you don't have to run the lead from the tachometer all the way up your throttle cable up to the spark plug wire and wrap it around there. Instead, you have it very nicely set up and installed right at the end here. So I have this and have been using the air conception throttles for years. And the only thing I don't like about it is very simple and very well made and really comfortable. What I've not liked about it is that the kill switch kind of sticks up here, and I at least am prone to hitting that on launch, and it causes me to abort my launch, of course, set up again. I'm not able to do apparently the pro move where you just keep running and start up the engine and go. But anyway, so I've recently bought a set. Actually, I have two paramotors, so I bought two replacement replacement throttles. So this is the Iris Paramotor throttle that I bought. I bought two of these, one for each of my two paramotors, and they're replacing the air conception throttle. It's a great throttle. It has a as you can see, it has a throttle stop as well, so that you can, or brake or whatever, so that in flight you can kind of use it as a cruise control, a dumb cruise control. But the nice thing it has is that the kill switch is not, it's recessed a little, not really recessed, but at least level or flush with the top of the handle of the throttle. So you're less prone to hit that on launch. So in this case, you can see I've already performed the operation I'd like to describe in this video. And the tachometer is installed just as I expect to install it for the other one, which we'll do in a moment. So here you go. You can see the other side of it, how literally, I would say elegant this installation is, and you don't have to run that wire back to the engine. All right, to start, we have the throttle off of the air conception throttle off of the paramotor. And I did want to point out one difference between the air conception and the Iris Paramotor throttle, in that air conception provides two leads back to the coil. And one is, of course, ground, that's ground or earth, which is this lead, which screws onto the coil. And then this is the positive side, which just plugs onto a post on the coil. The Iris version includes just the positive onto the post of the coil. It works fine. The engine itself provides earth. So that connection, the engine is with the engine is already made, so this works just fine with the one lead. The first thing we're going to do in my case is I'm going to remove this tachometer from the prior air conception throttle, and I'm going to show you what's inside here. I made a prior video of how I put this together, but I don't think I adequately showed what was inside. In this case, you can see in this throttle, I have this set of screws with hex heads I can take off, and that allows me to split the case, if you will, and show you what's inside. The Iris Paramotor version of this throttle does not give you that feature. It's really kind of all sort of one piece. I'm not sure exactly how it goes together, but I'll show you in a minute how we get this apart to get to the wire that we want to solder into. But for now, I'm going to take these halves apart here on the air conception throttle and show you what's inside. In case you're thinking about doing this operation with your air conception throttle, knowing which wire to tap into might be helpful. Okay, so now we have the halves apart here on the air conception throttle. It's a little difficult to see, but I'll point out that what we've done is to do this operation on this throttle is, this is the red line coming in from the TTO, from the tachometer, and we tapped into the white wire on this particular throttle. We're going to snip that red wire here, take this gauge off, and we're going to move it over to the other throttle. So at this point, we have what we need from the other throttle. We have the tachometer removed. Now we're going to have to do a little bit of surgery here. We want to be very careful. We want to take this shrink tubing off of the Iris Paramotor, and we're going to replace it with another. And before I go any further, I will mention that this is the correct size you want to use, 5/8 inch diameter, whatever length. I got this from Amazon. I'll probably put the link in the description with the video. All right, so here we go. We're going to do a little bit of surgery and see if we can get this off without too much trouble. This tubing has some adhesive in it, and so does the replacement. We may heat this up to try and loosen that a bit. Let's see how this goes. Really didn't have to do it with the prior version. It took a little bit of work, just like we're seeing here, but it eventually does separate. A little bit of brute force. It's sticking to this netted sheathing here is now. Cut some of that off. There we go. Oop, there we go. All right, so we're going to pull the sheathing back at this point, and in this case, this one only has one wire, and that's the one you want to tap into here. And so that makes it pretty easy. You don't have to figure out which is which. So this loose one right here is what we're going to tap into. I'm going to start that, but this is a very delicate operation in which you want to just kind of slice the insulation just off of one side here. You have to be very careful. You don't want to cut any of the threads in the wire. But once you get part of this off, you can then work your way around and remove a section of this insulation, and then we'll tap into that with the solder and solder the other piece in from the tachometer. So here goes. Okay, so I've exposed the wire without cutting anything. And now I'm going to try to just get under this insulation here. We'll work our way around. Okay, I don't think I got any of those strands, but that should be enough, more than enough actually for our purposes. So I think I'll actually leave that. I won't get too crazy about that. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to tie this back, this sheathing back, so it's out of the way, and we'll set up the soldering iron, and we'll come back and we'll tap into that. So for the next step, as mentioned, we want to tap into the pulse that is going to be occurring on every other stroke, I guess it would be, of the two-cycle engine. And so what we want to do is take our wires here and get something of a mechanical fit. It's not going to be terribly good here. Let's see if I can actually, let's take a little more insulation off of this. Maybe we can get a better purchase. There we go. All right. So a good when you're soldering, it's a great idea to get a good mechanical fit first, and then do the solder. The other part of soldering is to make sure that you get the parts that are going to be welded up to temperature, and then apply the solder. So we'll demonstrate that here. Not sure if we can get this little piece of plastic off of here, but let's try it. Whoop, that came right off. So much for my good mechanical fit. There we go. Try this again. All right, that's better. All right, let's get something under this so that it won't melt. Won't melt the fabric. Okay, let's solder this puppy up. So we'll tin the end of the soldering iron. Looks like we're good now. Now we're going to touch this here and let it heat up for a bit. I may cheat a little bit. There we go. All right, that should be good. Okay, let's get the shrink wrap onto the throttle cable. So now we have the shrink wrap on the cable, and just to mention, there are a couple of nice Velcro wraps that are provided with this cable. This does fit over it. It takes a little bit of finagling to get it there, but it will eventually get by both of those. And now we're back at the end of this cable, and we're going to move this shrink tube up over the end here, just as it was when it was manufactured, and get it up as close as we can here. And this is where we're going to want to have it settle. And so what we're going to do is get the heat gun and come back and finish this part of the operation. Okay, so we're back now with the heat gun, and I want to make sure that this tachometer is going to have enough slack with the wire and the shrink tube when it's installed, so that it's still able to be tie wrapped onto the side, which is what that's how I'm going to attach it. So right about here is where I want to be. I'm going to get this out of the way more or less, and we'll see if we can shrink some of this tubing. And now we'll finish it. All right. Now this shrink tubing has its own adhesive inside, so that's probably not going to go anywhere. But now we're ready to get some tie wraps and cinch this up, and then we'll be done, other than for installation. Okay, now let's attach the tachometer to the throttle. I'm going to try and use the flat side of this tachometer against the flat side of the throttle, which is right up against the handle. Try and take advantage of that. I'm only loosely tied these down right now. I want to get a couple of these in place. Then we'll cinch them down, and as we do that, we'll kind of direct all of this to be where we want them to be. All right, so just clip these off. Nice and flush if you can. Okay, so this is pretty much what we're after, something like this. The only thing I like to do with my paramotor throttles is cut them down, and Iris provided a nice little hint on where they can cut these. I cut them a little bit lower for what it's worth, and I'll come back and take the rough edges off of here. But I like to use these throttles with just 2 fingers, and then 2 fingers for the for the brake toggle. All right, I hope that's been helpful to you. I see this as a very elegant solution to be able to check my throttle. I like to do it frequently. I do long flights. I like to check on I also have a temperature gauge that's mounted to the paramotor shoulder strap. I can look down and see that every now and then. I like to compare the temperature to the RPMs, especially after or during a relatively high-speed climb, and just to make sure that I'm staying within the temperature range of the engine. Okay, hope that helps. Good day.